Hello, all of you gamers, professional and casual out there in the world. I am MegaAmpster. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas if you celebrate. If not, hey, hope you're just having a good end of 2022 because, man, we're almost already into 2023. Time is flying. It's absolutely ridiculous, but this week, taking a break from streams, but I wanted to make a few different videos just to kind of wrap up the year, kind of my thoughts and generally what happened. And first thing I got to talk about, you already know what it is. I've made several videos on it. I did several live streams of several of the games in this franchise, but wanted to make just a kind of recap video because this year has been a very special year for this particular franchise. And if you can't tell by my hat, if you can't tell by my my Sonic socks here, of course I'm talking about Sonic the Hedgehog here. This has been, honestly, 2022 has been the best year for Sonic in quite a long time, it feels like. You know, like I think that just in general, like obviously we've had games come out and, you know, some games have been decent. Like I think back to like Generations in 2011, that was a really good game. You know, and even like that kind of era of Sonic kind of coming back a little bit, of course, 2016 or 17, maybe 17, I don't even remember. 17, it was 17. Sonic Mania coming out, big deal. Forces, we can forget about that. But I just think in terms of all of the media, right? I'm not including just the games here, like everything, shows, movies, merchandise, comics, all that stuff. This year has been, I think overall, the best year Sonic has had in a long time. I think Sonic's bigger than ever now. I mean, let's start with the beginning of the year, right? Of course, I'm not going to talk too much about the IDW comics because, I mean, those have just been consistently going on pretty well, and I've read some here and there. I haven't read them all, but they've just been consistently pretty good for the last, like, several years. They started in, what, 2018? Someone correct me in the comments if I'm wrong about that. I don't know exactly the date that the IDW one started, but they've been pretty good. I've been reading most of them, missing some here and there, but they're all pretty consistently good. That's just been continuing to go on strong this year. And I'm also not going to mention Sonic Origins because I actually didn't pick that collection up. I know there were some iffy things about it, and that was, I guess, is that considered the low point of this year? Because there were just some bugs and glitches, and obviously the Sonic 3 and Knuckles music, some of the tracks getting replaced because of the whole copyright thing of the potential Michael Jackson tie-in, so that's been a whole thing in itself. But it was good to see those games get re-released in some form. No physical version was kind of a bit of a letdown, but I think it's still good to see those games get re-released, but I suppose that would be considered the quote-unquote low point of the year. There are three main things, though, that I want to talk about that I did experience myself, and just to kind of wrap my thoughts on. And so first of all, in April, what was it, April 8th, 7th, one of those days of this year, the sequel to the Sonic the Hedgehog movie, the Sonic Movie 2 release. Just a little heads up, there are going to be some minor spoilers here and there for some of the stuff in here, so definitely some Sonic Movie 2 spoilers, and we'll go on as we go. I'll try not to go too much into it, but obviously, you know, we saw the introduction of Tails and Knuckles into the movie, and I mean, Tails was great, same voice actress as the game, she did a really good job here. I thought it just fit the character perfectly, I thought, and very heartfelt. Like, this is the most I've cared about Tails in forever, so that was great to see. And then Knuckles, Idris Elba, I think he did a really good job. I love how he's not a complete idiot like he is in like Sonic Boom the cartoon, and some of the more recent games have kind of dumbed him down a bit, but he's not really dumb. He's more naive like he was like back in like Sonic 3 Knuckles, Sonic Adventure, where he gets tricked by Eggman all the time. It's back to that kind of Knuckles, which I think, especially for introducing his origin in this movie, works really well. I've done a full review on this, so I'm not going to go too much into it, but check out my Sonic Movie 2 review on the channel if you're interested in that. That video has been up for a while. And overall, I just really like the movie. I think it was significantly better than the first one. It was more of a Sonic film than the first one. It really appealed, I think, well, I'm just speaking for myself. I hope others, let me know what you think in the comments below. It feels like it appealed to Sonic fans more, while also bringing in new people, of course, introducing new characters for the merchandise. I'm not going to say anything about the post-credit scenes or any of that, because you can go check out the spoiler review. That's in my spoiler review of the movie, too. And I'm sure if you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. I'm not going to reference it here. But yeah, honestly, I thought there was like that one scene with the wedding I thought was like the lowest point of the two movies combined. Like that low, it wasn't that great. There were some funny moments in it, but overall it went on way too long. It was way more of a scene than it should have been, I think. But the rest of the movie was just so much better than the first one. The first one was still really fun movie. It was more like a buddy cop film, though. The sequel really feels like a proper Sonic film. We get to see so much more Sonic lore and characters in the film, and it was great to see. And it makes me even more pumped for the third movie when that comes out, what, 2024? So we still got a bit to wait for that, but what a way to kick off the year. It was nominated for Best Adaptation. Of course, it didn't win at the Game Awards this year. That, I think, went to the League of Legends Arcane show. But, like, what a good movie to start. I guess not really start. You know what I mean? Like, one of the main pillars of the year for Sonic. Having a great video game movie, honestly, and not just like for Sonic, but just in video game movies in general, really propelling just kind of the quality of those movies. Because, you know, in previous years they weren't great, but with movies like this, Detective Pikachu, the Mario movies looking really good so far. You know, it was like we're getting better quality video game related movies, and so I'm happy to see, as a movie watcher, I'm happy to see how movies like the Sonic 2 movie kind of propel that medium forward in terms of adapting video games into film. So hopefully here's some more good Sonic movies and just video game movies in general in the future. But that was a really, I think the Sonic 2 movie was just such a key part of Sonic's year this year. We had a bunch of Sonic presentations, like those Sonic Centrals, I think they call them. We had a couple mini ones here and there, I want to say. The main one, obviously, like talking more about Sonic Frontiers, which is the next kind of... Sonic Frontiers is kind of like the biggest, well, I wouldn't say it's the biggest in terms of the fandom. I wouldn't say maybe like overall, like the movie probably had more mass appeal, but in terms of the actual like core fandom for Sonic, Sonic Frontiers was a big deal. They had that Sonic Central where they were, you know, announced more details about it. We got the announcement of the prologue video that featured Knuckles and all that, and that was cool. It was a little just fun side story. It doesn't seem to have a huge impact on the plot. Maybe it will later on, as we'll talk about for next year. But Sonic Frontiers, right? Came out just a couple months ago. I streamed the entirety of this game, 8 parts. I put like almost 30 hours into this game. Because I never really gave my proper review or I talked about it in the live streams. Go check out the live streams if you want more like real-time feedback from me in terms of the game. But like, just as an overall like quick review, like I said, I'm not going to go into huge spoiler territory. This might be my favorite 3D Sonic game since the adventure games. Like, Generations was really good. It was a really nice celebration. It was honestly, I think, the peak of the boost formula. Although the daytime stages and Unleashed were also really good. But that's also only half the game, right? But Generations was just such... It was kind of peak. Like, honestly, I kind of wish they stopped the boost formula and went to more like this, like Frontiers after that, because that would have been a really good send-off. But then, you know, we got Lost World. It's okay. Anyways, just I'm getting off track here. Frontiers feels like such a fresh start for Sonic. You know, it feels like such... It feels like the next fresh thing since the boost formula was introduced. It's the next step, and Sega's even said this themselves. Frontiers, they're going to build off of this as the foundation of Sonic games going forward. At first, I'm not going to lie, I wasn't too into the idea because I'm not huge into like open world games. You know, I was hooked on Breath of the Wild when I played it, but I haven't revisited since I finished that game. You know, and there are some games that are just, it's almost like too intimidating for me as a gamer, especially, you know, used to playing like older Sonic games that were more linear, they were shorter, get through, you know, a story in 10, 20 hours and be done with it, move on to the next game. So it was a little, it kind of reduced my hype a little bit for this game building up to the release. And then, you know, we saw more and more, obviously there was the IGN first market, we don't need to talk about that. But I was getting more and more excited. The music, you know, the cyberspace DJ mix was really getting me even more hyped because, I mean, I love Sonic music, and if you're listening to it now, the spoiler alert, the music's pretty damn good in this game. But like, once it launched and I bought into it, of course I was gonna buy it, you know, Sonic fan. And I was like, you know what, it started to click with me during those live streams. I was like, this might be something special. It's not, it really could use a lot of polish, for sure. It is not the most polished game, but the core there is so good. It is such a unique take for Sonic. It's interesting because it's almost like taking elements from both adventure and boost formula and kind of finding a middle ground where, you know, Sonic's not boosting. I mean, you can go pretty fast in the game, but you're not like boosting like crazy like in Generations Unleashed those. But it's also like taking a little more, it's kind of slowing it down a little bit more for the exploration, which I think the open zone, as they call it, exploration in this game is honestly the best part about this game. I love just exploring. I've gone back and literally found every memory token. I still haven't finished the final island, but ooh, love the song. Sorry, I'm telling you, music can get me off track so much, but it just feels so fun to explore, and that's what it's funny because the thing that I was originally at first a little weary of, like, oh, how open is this gonna be? it's my favorite part of the game. The cyberspace levels are also really good. I think the controls are a little weird sometimes, like turning around in midair, and like the boost is weird. You can't even boost into enemies to damage them in this game. I know it's not exactly the boost like in the previous games, but there are some control things here and there. I love some of the throwbacks to older level designs. If you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking. I'm not going to say what they are here, but some of them are really fun. But some of the cyberspace levels just aren't great. The music's fantastic, but the design of some of them isn't the most appealing, so I hope they kind of iterate upon that and refine that in the next game. You know, I still appreciate having the cyberspace levels here because it breaks up the open zone exploration. But the open zone exploration, like it's kind of just like a big sandbox playground kind of thing where you have all these obstacle courses, a lot of grind rails for sure. I know that was a complaint looking at the footage early on. But it's so fun to just run around, explore different things. The main issue is the pop-in. I really hope they fix the pop-in, especially with the announcement of the DLC for next year. Especially with, like, I'm thinking the new playable characters like Tails, Knuckles, and Amy, I think are going to be the new playable characters. So especially Tails and Knuckles, they got to fix that pop-in because, like, you're not going to be able to see anywhere where you're going. That's, like, the main issue I have with the open zone is that pop-in's just not great. And as a result, it kind of inhibits some of the exploration. But for the most part, it's just fun to run around. It's just fun to control Sonic. I got used to the controls pretty quickly, and luckily you can tweak it a bit in the options menu. Collectibles are fun. The story's interesting. Ian Flynn on the writing. Massive props to Ian Flynn. Obviously, you know, working on the writing for the Sonic IDW comics and the Archie comics as well prior to that. He does a really good job. He really respects the overall Sonic lore. So many little references here and there, and I know it's not for everybody. You know, some people might just be like, oh, it's throwing out meaningless references here and there just for nostalgia pandering. But I feel like, in my opinion, like, yeah, I could definitely see that angle, but it also kind of makes the Sonic universe seem more connected than it's ever been. The fact that they actually, you know, acknowledge past things, except with exceptions like Generations, which are celebrations of the previous games. You literally go through some of the same levels. So it's kind of a nice, like, callback that, you know, just, yeah, it's a quick throwaway thing, but it's like, it's kind of nice to see them actually referencing older events that happened. It feels like the characters and story have progressed, you know, since their prior adventures. So that's really, honestly, really fun to do and really fun to see. And it's honestly, don't even get me started on the Supersonic fights. Literally the best Supersonics ever been. Literally the best Supersonics ever been. I'm not taking any arguments against that. The only exception is like maybe like Doomsday Zone from Sonic 3 or some of the 2D games. But in terms of 3D Supersonic, this is the best 3D. Hands down, best 3D Supersonic has ever been, I think. Really good fights. The music's obviously phenomenal, and it's definitely rough around the edges. There are some things I hope they refine, but it's such a good foundation, and I'm really excited to see where they take it. I'm more excited for 3D Sonic than ever since, like, Unleashed or, I guess, Generations. Very excited to see where they take it. Hopefully they can refine on some of the things they've learned here. It seems like they're taking a lot of player feedback, and I'm excited. I'm excited to see where the future of 3D Sonic has in store. It feels so nice to be excited for 3D Sonic again, you know? Rather than just be like, oh, I hope they release a Mania 2 this year, you know, which who knows if they ever will. But now we're like, oh, hopefully we hear more about Sonic Frontiers 2 this year. You know, not that we're going to hear about it for a few years at least, but it's so nice to be excited for this again. As a Sonic fan, especially one who grew up with the 3D games with Sonic Adventure 2, it's so nice to feel this excited again. I think it's my favorite since the adventure games. I mean, Generations is up there, and Unleashed, the daytime stages are up there, but I think this might be like my third favorite. I don't know if I can still put it above the adventure games because those games just feel so good to control. And nostalgia, of course, but this is a really, really good step. Really good step. I'm so excited to see where they go from here. With that, though, there's one more kind of like, I don't know if I call it core pillar. I guess it's probably the least important of the three, right? We had the movie in April. We had Sonic Frontiers release in, was that October or November? No, I guess that was November. And then we had just recently, actually, just a couple of weeks ago, the premiere of the first 8 episodes of the Sonic Prime show on Netflix. And I did a couple of like trailer reactions and stuff leading up to this. I wasn't super hyped about it. I was like, you know what? It's good to see a Sonic cartoon returning. I mean, hell, it's been almost 10 years since Sonic Boom, the TV show, aired. It's been so long. Like, I thought about that the other day. I'm like, what the heck? How has it been that long since the last Sonic cartoon first aired? I'm like, that's ridiculous. But I was kind of lukewarm on it. I'm like, okay, I'm sure it'll be good. The brand new voice actors for everybody. And, you know, the animation looked beautiful. And yeah, just to go into it, like, I thought it was pretty good. I'm not as hot on it as a lot of other Sonic fans seem to be, but I think it's very good. You know, the animation's really clean. The animation might be my favorite part about the show. It just, the way the characters animate and they squatch and stretch. I hope, like, the 3D games take inspiration from Sonic Prime because it just looks so good in motion. You know, it's honestly like a beautiful looking animation. In terms of the characters, I think most of them do a really good job with the voice acting. Tails, I'm still kind of getting used to, but like Amy's really good. I forget, I'm blanking on the Sonic voice actor. I think he does a really good job. Rouge sounds really good. I like how she's less, you know, sexual. Like, and I don't know why I said it, but that was a good idea. In the older games, especially like Sonic 06 era, like it's just like, it feels more like a proper Sonic character, which I like. Eggman, I think Brian Drummond is the only one I can think of, because he sounds like Ryan Drummond from the original Sonic Adventure voice actor. I think Brian Drummond does a really good job as Eggman. It's weird not hearing Mike Pollock, but like you get used to it pretty quickly, and he sounds really good. I think he really fits the character. Like for the most part, across the board, like I said, Tails and maybe Knuckles are the ones I'm still adjusting to, but otherwise, they all sound pretty good in terms of the voice actors. And the plot is definitely interesting. I would say, without going too much into spoilers, like I said, minor spoilers for all of these things here. The first 4 episodes kind of follow a formula, and I was worried it was going to continue that for the other 4, but it honestly breaks that formula pretty quickly. It's just cool to see Sonic go through these different dimensions, essentially, and like interact with different, you know, versions of the characters in those other dimensions. It's just really cool to see how they interpret that. It's a very, I don't know if I want to say original, because, you know, with the MCU and other movies prior establishing the whole multiversal thing, and like look at superhero comics for decades, right? They've been doing that for a while. So I wouldn't say it's original in that regard. It's original for Sonic, which I think they did a pretty decent job of adapting that. The story's nothing to really write home about. It's like solid. I don't know what else to say, but this different set pieces are cool. So I'm excited to see, and we're getting a second batch of 8 episodes, I believe. Excuse me, sometime next year. I think there's like going to be 3 batches, kind of like the Cuphead show. That's what I heard, but correct me in the comments if I'm wrong about that. But it's just, I'm excited to see what other, you know, multiverses, or other universes, I guess I should say, that Sonic is going to stumble upon, and like what those variants of his friends are going to look like and how they're going to act and everything. You know, I'll be curious to see. I think it's a pretty good start. I would say overall, as a Sonic cartoon, I do like this more than Sonic Boom. Sonic Boom's writing, though, which is honestly really funny. Like, Sonic Boom the cartoon was the best thing to come out of that Sonic Boom spin-off universe that lasted for like, what, 3 years? You know? So the writing was really funny. It was really good. A lot of fourth wall breaks, whereas this was a much more serious show with some comedy still in there. But I think overall it is a better show than Sonic Boom, especially in terms of a Sonic cartoon. Yes, it's a much better Sonic cartoon. It feels more like Sonic. Some of the different like changes to the lore they did were interesting, but like it feels like more of a Sonic cartoon, and it's a lot more fun. The animations, like I said, is beautiful. The voice actors do a really good job for pretty much the most part. All of them do a pretty good job. Just takes some adjusting to get used to, especially if you've been attached to some of these voice actors for so long. The story could be better, sure, but it's a kid's cartoon. It's like whatever. It's just fun. It's really fun to watch, you know? That's the sign of a decent show. Like, even if it's just fun to watch, you don't have to think about anything. You just kind of put it on, you watch Sonic and his friends do their thing, and it's really fun to see them go across the different universes. It is really great. I'm just repeating myself here, but this video, I don't want this video going on too long, but like just to kind of wrap everything up, right? As a Sonic fan, I've been a Sonic fan my entire life. Like, yeah, I'm kind of a crazy Sonic fan. I like to think I'm one of the less crazy ones, but then again, you never know. It's especially a 3D fan. You know, I didn't grow up. The Genesis was before my time. I grew up with the Sega Dreamcast. I grew up with the first 2 adventure games, right? Adventure 1 came out like literally I was like 2 years old. So as a fan of the 3D games, it's been such an exciting year to see where Sonic goes. You know, to see Sonic come again to the big screen better than ever with the sequel to the movie. To see 3D Sonic finally get a bit of redemption. I know people were a little iffy on it at first, and it's definitely not for everybody. But to see Sonic fans really rally around Frontiers as like this next big refreshing take for Sonic, and while not being perfect, still being really fun in its own right, you know, to see that, and to see this show come out, this Netflix show come out, and Sonic fans, I mean, it's not making a huge splash, it seems like, but just to see people, and fans mainly, kind of rally around the show and be like, yeah, this is pretty good. This is a pretty fun show to watch, you know? It's been great all around. Obviously, like I said, the comics still going strong. Sonic Origins might have been, like I said, the low point of the year, but like it's still good to see those games get re-released. I don't know why they didn't do a physical version. Maybe they will eventually, but that was the main thing that made me not want to buy it. But even then, I've already owned those games in like 3 different forms, so I'm like, I'm not gonna bother. But it's great to see the Sonic love this year, you know? It really feels like this year was the 30th. Did it ever been 30? crap, it's already been 30 years. What the hell? 31. Um, it really feels like this year was the 30th celebration. And I mean, I bet you a lot of the stuff was planned for last year, but you know, the pandemic probably pushed things off and everything. But it feels like we've gotten so much care for Sonic in all forms of media that, you know, the games, the movies, TV show, the music, the comics, all of that. It's been great to see. And I mean, we're not going to get as much Sonic stuff next year as we did this year, that's for sure. We're not going to get that much stuff. I mean, what do we know about? The comics are going to keep going on. We're going to get the Sonic Frontiers DLC. We're going to get at least another batch of Sonic Prime episodes, and supposedly the Knuckles spin-off show on Paramount Plus. I don't know what the deal is with that. I haven't heard any news about it. So, you know, it'll be like iterating upon what we got this year. It'll be like kind of part 2 for Sonic's 2022, you know what I mean? It'll be like a continuation, not as big of a splash, but it'll be continued support of these things, which is great. You know, Sonic could continue going strong. I think Sonic's been bigger than ever. Kind of a little personal note, but like one of my nephews, how's he, 5 years old? He's gotten into Sonic like recently, and so it's been fun kind of watching him getting into Sonic and like some of the different characters and stuff. Like, as someone who grew up with that, be like, oh, I know. Yeah, he's getting into all these characters here. Literally, my parents bought him like a set of like these Sonic action figures, and I was like, ooh, I kind of want those, no joke. But no, it's been fun to see Sonic be kind of bigger than ever, mainly thanks to the movie, I think. But you know, the Sonic Prime show, I'm sure, is helping as well. And you know, Sonic Frontiers, keeping 3D Sonic, pushing 3D Sonic back into the spotlight, and, you know, kind of ending it with a positive note, because we haven't had a positive note for 3D Sonic, I think, since Generations, right? Like, since then, I don't know. It's been great to see. It's obviously still mixed Frontiers, but for the fans, you know, this really is a game for the fans. It's great to see them kind of rally around this game, and, you know, I'm looking forward to all the stuff coming next year, but we will just have to see then. You know I'm going to be covering on this channel, but with that, I don't want this video going on any longer. It's already super long. Thank you so much if you made it through all the way. If you did, thank you. You're awesome. You were the best. Let me know in the comments below what you thought of this year for Sonic. You know, whether you got into Sonic, you know, just this year, or if you've been a longtime fan like me, or somewhere in between. Let me know in the comments below what you feel about this year, you know, Frontiers, Prime, the movie, comics, any of that. Try to keep it spoiler-free if possible, like major spoilers. I'm just trying to do that so that, you know, in case anybody hasn't watched those and is planning on, you know, interacting with those media later on, and, you know, they don't want to get it spoiled. People can be sensitive to that, so please try to keep it spoiler-free in the comments if you can. But that's going to do for this video. It's been a really great year for Sonic, one of the best in forever, and I'm excited to see what next year holds for the little blue blur over here. But that's going to do for this video. Thank you again so much. Have a good one. I'm going to be trying to wrap up this year with a bunch of videos this week, so look out for those, and then I'll be resuming live streams a week from today with Yoshi's Woolly World, I believe, so that's the plan for now. I will catch you all on the next one. Have a great rest of your 2022, and here's to going fast and for a nice year for Sonic next year. Take care.